Welcome to Hat Trick Spotlight. I'm Jim Cerny, joined by Steve and Tom Mele, the Mele Brothers. And boys, thanks for sharing a few minutes in the off season with us.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
So, I know you played in college together at AIC. I know that you played pro together at Tulsa, but that was about 7 years ago. What was the experience like playing closer to home and also later in your careers to be teammates and playing together? And I guess start with Tom.
I mean, obviously, when going to AIC was close to New York. It was only 2.5 hours, and then he came after my sophomore year. So, I mean, it was a great experience. Family came up every weekend to home games and whatnot, and then obviously, later on we linked up again, and the opportunity to come back here after the COVID year and kind of reconnect and play together again was pretty special.
Yeah, I think I had more fun this time around, since earlier in our careers, like in college and even in Tulsa, we were, I wouldn't say in our prime, but we were definitely more stressed about hockey and the mental grind of it, and wondering if one was going to get traded or cut or whatever. We always felt bad if someone was scratched, like mainly me, not him. Like, he felt bad in those old days if I wasn't playing and he was. So I think it was more relaxed, like knowing that we were in a better situation and we were more experienced, and the team was more confident, and I think it helped both sides of it.
And what's a cool aspect too, I mean, you're right here, your families are here, they get to see you, not only see you individually play, but to see you play together. I mean, there's a cool aspect to that.
Yeah, it's funny. They still think we're 26, so they're like, why don't you skate faster, or why don't you, work harder? It's like, well, this is it. Like, we're in our 30s. We're not 22 anymore. Like, this is all you're getting. So, but they...
Wait a minute. Zdeno Chara is what, 42 or whatever? He's still playing?
I don't know how they do it, to be honest. It's incredible. I think the travel and what they eat, it definitely in the money plays a big part in it. But it's incredible when those guys are playing over 35, 40 at that level.
Yeah. It's funny. You mentioned, we can't push like we were when we were 26, 27. There were nights, I didn't have the counter going, but it looked like you were playing a good 30 minutes a night, some nights here. So
it's definitely a good workout, for sure.
Yeah, sometimes the Friday game, and we had a game Saturday, it would be like, I don't know how I'm going to do this again. But, yeah, you get going a couple shifts and you're right, it's like, all right, this is fun.
Yeah, and of course, at this stage of your careers, things are a little bit different. When you played together in Tulsa, as you talked about, the pressure of who could be scratched, who could be moved, and here you're at a different point of your careers and in your lives, and you both have full-time jobs and you both work in real estate. And what was that experience like, being a part-time player after giving 100% of your career to hockey, to now having to kind of answer two different areas? And
sure.
Was that difficult? How difficult was it?
I don't want to say it was difficult. It was different, and it was weird, because you're so used to getting up, going to the rink 8 o'clock, leaving 12:30, going to the gym, hanging out with the guys, being social, and that's kind of the part that we didn't have this year. We really 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. It's tough to be at the rink when you got business calls and meetings and places to be and people to answer to and whatnot. So that for me was the biggest adjustment, not being around full time. But at the same time, as the season went on, we got more and more in the flow of things, coming up with a schedule, figuring out hours. Like when we could be at practice, we would, if he had appointments, or if my day was a little lighter, we'd pop in and then go to the office after that. I think the biggest adjustment was getting used to that and not being, the camaraderie. Like, we really weren't, we tried to be around as much as we could. It's just tough sometimes.
Yeah, and how about the angle of, you guys are both veterans, both have played at higher levels than most of the guys have, on this team. So of course they're going to look to you as leaders, as well. And if your leader isn't there every day, how do you lead? So what kind of challenge was that for you guys?
It's a gray area, because you don't want to be the guy that only shows up on games, and then he's talking a lot. And when you know that these guys are traveling and really bagging themselves during the week, and they're really, during the week in practice, that's the hardest time. And, the games are easy. So we tried to be as friendly and as vocal, and how to try and keep the balance to where we're not trying to be, heroes and like super vets, if you will. And, if people asked us questions, we'd help them out and stuff, but you don't want to, they're the ones working really hard. And like he said, when we showed up, we tried to do it as if we were 22 and on the team full time. It's just working out that balance.
Yeah. You mentioned vocal. You guys can both be pretty vocal out on the ice. One maybe more than the other, but I see both of you with the chirping and working the other teams and all that. So you tell me right now. We'll ask Tom first, then Steve will answer the question. Who's better at running their mouth? Who gets under the skin of the opposition better, Tom Mele or Steve Mele?
I don't know.
Oh, come on,
I think it's just two total, and we can ask like our closest family, friends, wives. It's just two very different personalities. Like for me, I think it's kind of expected, and then like when he does it, it's like, oh shoot. So that's my opinion.
I'm always been the calmer one and more patient. So I have a longer fuse than Tom. Tom is not a chirper. It's just like, I'm gonna fight you or we're not fighting. It's like, I'm not gonna waste me. I've been a thorn in his side since I was born. So I'm more of the little nippy dog at your ankles, and Tom's more of the quiet.
I'm quiet and reserved. But if you keep coming, that's when and you can ask my wife.
He always
too.
says, I don't act, I react.
Yeah, I don't initiate. I react. Like, I'll leave you alone, but if something happens, like, it's, good luck.
So what was it about the Watertown Wolves that would get under your skin that you get under their skin? Because you would always be an extra level higher with them.
I don't fight a lot. I never had a career where maybe a fight or two a year. Not a lot of penalty minutes. I've gotten to the point now, and Tom can attest, like the guys on Watertown, I've played with some of those guys. I've played against them in higher levels. Those weren't the guys I had problems with. It was the young rookies that wouldn't stop talking. And you had Watertown guys telling them to shut up. Like, listen, just shut up. So that's what bothers me, is the younger guys, that it's like a respect thing. Like, I respected the older guys on Watertown. I had no problem with any of them. I think that's the experience, like who you're playing against and the respect aspect. Like, I didn't do anything to, I'm playing hard. But It's the younger guys that really don't know their role yet. And we have guys on our team like that we had to tell, like, shut up, dude. Like, unless you're going to do something, I don't know if that's the old way of playing hockey, but I don't know. Yeah. So
now you told me this is not on camera, but previous conversation that we had. You told me that your brothers, you might have some brotherly spats out on the ice during games and practices and things like that, and might have had to be split up at times during the season. Tell me how the relationship was on the ice for you guys during the season, getting back to it again after all these years of not having had the opportunity to play together.
Sure.
Tell the truth.
I think having a year off changed a lot. If the COVID year never happened when I was 25, probably had a full summer of training and then just picked back up where we left off. But having a full season off, I'm 36 now. It wasn't easy. I tried my best, and I think sometimes, and I think we talk about this all the time, like managing expectations. It's just that him and my family, like, they always remember the way I used to be, and I carried myself pretty well, I thought. I wasn't a superstar out there by any means, but I think some people just forget that, I'm getting up there. So
we are, yeah. We are 3.5 years apart, so I do forget that. I always tell Tom, like, he's 48 and 52. I always raise his age every time we talk. But I think it goes back to, like, the routine of, we used to be very, we trained together, back in the, when we were doing it full time. Every day at 6, and we were like, psychos when it came to training and
as you get closer
preparation.
to camp, it was 2-3 times a day.
So
leading up,
I think the frustration on the ice when we did yip and when they did have to separate us was that old mentality of executing plays, and like when we knew we would do it in the past and now we can't, but when you don't practice and get the touches in and then you just jump into a game Friday, you might miss a pass that you normally wouldn't, and that would cause some, yipping, frustration, and you kind of wish you were at morning skate and practiced a couple times so you can, get that puck and shoot it right away instead of it going over your stick. Like that kind of stuff would cause the arguments. And then it's
actually little things that, people watching the game, they're not even going to notice.
Right,
they're not going to see it. But internally, when you've held yourself to physically and mentally at such a high standard because you had to playing at those levels, or else you wouldn't have been at those levels. I think it's just frustrating.
Your brain is trained a certain way, so it's hard to mess up when for 20 years you were thinking a certain way.
Right.
So,
it's just we're just programmed that way still, and we still take pride in producing and performing and being effective. But
that's where the frustration and fighting would come from.
Internally, it wouldn't be with the teammates or the coaches.
Yeah, of course. And I know part of that competition involved a steak dinner, correct?
Which I have not received yet.
So let's get this out there. Tom,
Josh, you can get behind the camera, you can help us with this dinner.
Tom had more points than Steve this season. Steve had more goals than Tom this season during the regular season.
The deal was...
Oh, here we go. The fine line.
I don't even know the final stats, to be honest. It was whoever had most points took the other guy's family out to Roots Crisp.
Whoever had the most points.
I played less games.
It's just points.
So I want to see the points per game is my argument. So I don't know what it ended up at. But I played like 2 or 3 less games because I had my son.
Correct.
So I said, why do you get extra games? It's got to go by points per game.
Which you lost.
Is it? I don't know. We'll have to we'll have to follow up.
We'll break it down.
Pull up the tape.
Yeah. Ask other questions.
So the steak dinner has not happened yet. Is what we're getting down to.
Look to see who actually, unless you're sure of this.
I'm positive I won.
I like it.
It's over.
That's the big brother taking over right there.
In both total points and points per game, Tom has the advantage.
What's the points per game?
It was like 1.17 to like 1.15.
It's a joke.
Medium to medium rare.
All right. That's fine.
I'd also argue that if you had agreed to total points, then the points per game shouldn't matter.
Oh.
Why? I played less games.
Stat guy. Why?
Well, if that was your agreement.
He said the agreement was whoever had more points.
Are you still recording?
Yeah.
This is great. Go ahead.
But how are you supposed to get points if you don't play this?
Well,
I didn't play every
not
game.
his fault.
I didn't play every game.
I had a kid.
I was out of town.
All right, I'll buy you your steak. Hope you choke on it.
But the younger brother came up with one of the signature moments of the season. Absolutely. With the season on the line in the quarterfinals against Binghamton. 14 seconds to go, down by 1, about to be eliminated on home ice. And there he was on the doorstep, taking a whack at that puck and getting it in and scoring the tying goal, forcing overtime. Nick Levesque scored on the power play. You win the next night and boom, you move on to the semis. Tell me about that moment. I know you told me originally you just blacked out when it happened.
I wasn't even supposed to be on the ice. I actually stunk that game. And I think we were having some line changing issues, and we needed an extra guy, and I went out. And I think Tyler knows where he said he was already tearing up on the bench because he thought the season was over. And I was always taught if you want to score, go to the net. So I was just standing there, and I call it the honey hole. You'll find something once in a while. Just whack at it. Close your eyes and I don't know. I did black out, but none of that's planned. It was a great moment, and I'm glad we kept playing after that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was very happy for him. I was excited.
and then to have Nick, of course, score the power play goal after you guys had killed off against a very hot power play, had killed off, had a good penalty kill in overtime. You guys won it on the power play. There were some cool moments this season in this building. What's this building like when it gets rocking? When it gets filled and it gets going?
It's exciting, and that's that was one of the things I didn't realize about this league, because when I didn't know anything about this league coming in, so it was pretty cool and pretty special to see that, just to have that feeling again of scoring a goal and playing in front of people. And then, you know, the cherry on top was having our wives and families in the stands every night, because you have to remember, like, these people like didn't see us play for close to a decade unless they came, you know, once or twice a year during the road or on road trips. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah. So we're here with Tom and Steve Mele, the Mele Brothers, forwards for the Danbury Hat-Tricks, and they lead not so secret other lives as well, because they're real estate agents locally. And tell me a little bit, Tom, about your podcast that you just started, Pucks and Properties, kind of tying hockey and real estate together.
Sure. So Pucks 2 Properties.
Pucks 2 Properties.
Yeah, Pucks 2 Properties.
My faux pas.
It's okay. It's actually it's a coaching. It's been in the works for about 6 months. It is a coaching program that we are putting together for former and current players who are thinking about getting into real estate, whether it's still playing, which they can do, which he did. He got his license 5 years ago while he was still playing. That's my biggest regret, is that I didn't, you know, start my career a little bit, you know, earlier than, you know, a year ago. So we have podcasts, we have you know, different types of conference calls, different marketing tools. It's just a platform to kind of, and we don't know where it's going to go yet. We've tapped into the NHLPA, PHPA, thinking about, you know, creating a culture, maybe do a conference once a year down south, to where it's all ex-players or current players that are either in the business, whether it be retail, commercial, the investment side of things, and kind of utilize, because our company's in 10 states now. So if I throw a dart at a map, I'm gonna hit a city that I've played in or played on the road. I might know a guy that's in the business or in that market where we could utilize and potentially network, do a deal together, whatever it is. It's just something that Bob LaChance and I kind of put together. Bob played here, I told you about, and we put this together, and, you know, I think we've done 5 episodes so far. Eric Nystrom was the last episode that we did last week. NHL guys, East Coast guys, American League guys. I haven't tapped into the Federal League yet, but it's just something to utilize and help just make that next step after hockey. And we see it, you know, it's been pretty beneficial so far. We're actually doing a couple deals down in Nashville. We just broke into the Tennessee market, so we have some stuff going on down there currently. But it's just really going to be a platform for guys to, if they do want to get into real estate or real estate investing, it's going to be something for them to, like I said, utilize and, you know.
I haven't been asked to be on it yet. So.
I mean, the thing is, first of all, that's the quietest Steve's been the entire season. The thing is, if you give him the microphone, if he joins the podcast,
he loves the show. He loves the spotlight.
Yeah, it'll be Steve's show.
I don't say spotlight. I'm just personable.
No, but
which is very important in real estate.
We do have about 25 guys lined up right now. So if we put out 1 episode a month, I mean, we're booked for the next 2 years essentially.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he'll be on.
So Steve has no chance, is what you're saying.
He'll be on at some point.
Wait list?
I haven't been asked to be on his show either. So I think it's just because he's distracted. He just had a kid, so there's a lot going on. I'm having a kid any day now, so it's...
Yeah, you'll see.
Yeah.
So that's the problem. He's going to take a little break.
But yeah, right now we're just trying to log as much content and put that in the bank as possible, and then, you know, probably starting September, October 1st, like right away when the season starts, we'll start, you know, dropping 1 episode with a different guest every month. And who knows where it's going to go.
That's awesome. So Steve, because working in real estate, being a hockey player, is there a skill set or skills, lessons learned being a professional athlete that transcend over to working in the business world?
My thing is the competitiveness.
Yeah, you got to be disciplined, and it's, you know, I don't say we lost the fire for hockey, but definitely took that competitiveness and drive that we had for hockey and transferred it over to real estate. You know, you don't get paid unless you sell something. You know, so
Right.
Or
I don't
buy something.
or buy something. You know, I don't know where the next paycheck's coming from. Yes, it's all commission, and they can be very like it can be a lucrative business, but you know, there's no benefits, there's no health plan. You know, you're
Yeah.
on your own for everything. So, you know, all my friends, they say, God, you got the life and the time frame to do whatever you want, but it's like you have a nice steady paycheck and health benefits, but I have more time and I have to grind a little harder. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You got to pick what kind of life, you know, you want. I'd rather shoot for the ceiling and not have a cap on what I can make, but you know, I have to work a little harder and be more personable and talk to more people instead of, you know, the 9 to 5 grind that, you know, some people don't like. It wasn't for me. That's why I started getting real estate, or got into real estate. While I was playing, I was just taking the course after practice because I knew it could be a flexible kind of thing. So, and then I got Tom on the train, and I don't know when that's going to be mentioned.
And, you know, we know you guys. I mean, you're brothers. You're probably competitive at everything, you know, growing up and throughout your careers, and as teammates, and the steak dinner and all that. Does it carry over? Does it carry over into real estate?
Couldn't get it.
Like, oh, I got this property in this town. Oh yeah, I just got this one
We
going.
really don't. Well, we do.
Trying to get into the inner Mele
We do
workings
similar
here.
real estate, but we do very different kind of real
I
estate.
see.
We really don't. We know what each other does. You know, like in terms of majority of their day, like what kind of real. You know, there's so many different ways that real estate can be worked. You know,
For sure.
So you know, if we're on the same kind of, we help each other a lot. I don't think it's competitive at all. I think if we can get each other involved on a deal or some type of situation, like we're going to try and make each other money. But a lot of the time, it's like he's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. You know, there's not a way to work each other in. You know, we don't want to manipulate people so we make money. It's just if it's possible, we join forces, and if not, we don't. So I don't think it's really competitive. We don't talk about, you know, I made this month. You know, it's not like that. Our wives would kill us if we discussed
so he
that
says.
stuff. Yeah. We don't.
Tom and Steve Mele, thanks for taking some time out of your off season to come chat with us and for the fans and everything.
Absolutely.
And best of luck this off season.
Thank you.
Dad to be
Yeah.
and recent dad.
Father's Day coming up.
Yeah, Father's Day coming up. Congrats to both of you.
Thank you.